and introduce you. Okay, we're recording. All right, guys, welcome everybody. I'm Doc G, of course, and this is Coach Neighbors next to me. He's got some great stuff for you today. I'm just going to let the coach take away foreclosure, defense 101, and more. This man is amazing. Listen to him. Go ahead, Coach. What do you got for us today?
Thank you, Gene. Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I'm excited about today. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm a paralegal, advocates for justice, foreclosure defense paralegal service. We are different and we prove it. So I pretty much work from the non-conventional side of things, which means that we spend more time figuring out ways how to use the system against itself, the loopholes in the system against itself, because everything that they're doing is structured through fraud. So we just have to figure out where the little net is that we can grab on and start pulling on. So first off, the main thing I want to touch on, and I try to think about this every time I get to talk to anybody that's fighting in foreclosure. The number one mistake that people make, and this is based off of my opinion of helping quite a few people in my private Facebook page and people all over the United States that contact me through my Google AdWords. So the number one mistake that people make, in my opinion, when they're fighting their case in foreclosure court, is they do not have the right person as the number one defendant. Most people do not have the person that actually signed to initiate the foreclosure. That person is not added on the lawsuit as the number one defendant. Most people put the lender on there as the number one defendant. And that's like, you know, one of the main reasons why the judge throws your stuff out of court. Now think about it. If the judge knows that the lender didn't sign them paperwork anyplace, the only signature on that document is the signature of the attorney. No one else.
Yeah.
So the judge knows that you have the wrong person. Now, the judge's not going to tell you that because they're all buddies. And that's not what this is about. In the conventional program, it's structured so you have to argue. And when the arguing starts, when the arguing ends, the judge has to make a decision. The judge gets to rule. Hang on 1 second here.
Can you talk a little louder? I think we're having a problem with vocals here. I'm trying to get your microphone up and it's really kind of low.
Okay. Yeah, I lost the picture of everything that's going on.
You did?
Yeah, that's weird.
See, they're tampering with stuff. This is what they do. I've gone through this with when I did a show with Scott Staffney, one of the foreclosure defense attorneys, and several other people.
Well, it don't matter with me because we can move straight ahead. I just can't see you.
Well, I can still see you, so whatever you're doing, don't worry about it. I can still see you.
Okay, cool. Oh, now I can see you through the meeting. Okay, so the number one thing that people get wrong, in my opinion, is the fact that they don't list the attorney as the number one defendant and the law firm as the second defendant. And if you check your paperwork, especially, well, either way, in a judicial foreclosure, the document would be the petition, the complaint, or whatever. It's signed by only the attorney. That's it. It's not signed by anybody else. And in a non-judicial foreclosure, the notice of default letter is what is used to initiate that whole situation. And it's signed by the attorney also, and it should only be signed by the trustee. These issues are fatal flaws to the action, but you know, no one addresses these things because people don't spend the time. And you know, if you think about it, if you add the attorney who actually sued you illegally for your house as a third-party debt collector,
Mhm.
it's a problem because the attorney can't represent the case themselves. They can't litigate a case they're a party to, and they cannot. The rules will not allow them to go into court and represent their firm. You cannot go into court pro se. And the way we back people in the corner, and they have to go into court pro se because the outside counsel that they want to hire will not help them because
Right.
they know that if the homeowner knows that the attorney's collecting as a third-party debt collector, then the barn door's open, the cow's out. It's too late for anybody to help them. They don't want to get involved because they're also doing the same thing. So, the conventional way, you do the arguing in their lawsuit they filed against you. In the non-conventional way, you file your lawsuit in a higher court, in federal court, addressing all of the stuff that we have, showing that they threw you under the bus at the beginning. You never want to go into court to respond to what they said you did, or you never want to answer to them. You want to go in with what they did wrong and show that they're dirty and make them have to defend themselves. Puts you in a whole different position. So
Absolutely.
today we're also going to talk about a new document that, well, it's not new. It's been in my treasure chest for some time. It's a marriage dissolution document, and I put this together for a family member and one of my best friends to use. And it was interesting. We started doing the research on it, and it just became more interesting and more interesting. So what I'm going to share with you guys is a little more research than what you actually need to accomplish what the document does, but it shows you exactly where you are, and it's not pretty. So, one of the other things we're going to talk about too is getting things on the public record. Now, I've been learning about this, redoing this marriage dissolution document. And the marriage dissolution document, we've used it twice. One of my family members used it and actually went back and checked later, and went back and checked the computer at county courthouse or whatever, and pulled up his marriage that they had placed on the public record. And it showed that his marriage had been dissolved the day prior, the same day that he filed the document. Now, right. I had another young lady use the document in South Carolina, I believe. And when it got mentioned that she was something about the divorce, then they got attitude, and they sent her over to a family court so she could pay and get an attorney and do all that stuff. And they gave her a real hard time. So to prevent that from occurring this time, and like I said, that was a few years back before I learned how to structure these lawsuit packages. So I structured a notice of claim, which is also the lawsuit that you would need if they refuse to accept your $20 and file and place your marriage dissolution document in the public record. And we'll talk about that later. Okay. Now, I have a lot of people that have been complaining and giving me a hard time on Facebook and some of my other ads on YouTube. But the interesting thing is those people can't explain to me why my process won't work, or why they go, oh, right there. Yeah, but no one can, this is why it won't work. At the end of the day, when it comes to the non-conventional foreclosure defense strategy, think about it. Would it be smarter to prove that the person who signed to initiate the foreclosure against your property did so unlawfully and without standing? Or would it be smarter to prove that the bank made some mistakes and are involved in foreclosure or whatever? I mean, just think about it. Which hill is the lesser hill to climb? when you get to the point where you're actually holding somebody accountable, okay, it makes a big difference. And the reason why we only use the three people, the attorney, the law firm, and the last servicer, is because the servicer illegally sold the alleged debt to the attorney after they charged it off of their books, read it off their income tax, and claimed it on the insurance. And it's illegal. Now, you can read the internet all day long and they'll say, oh, yeah, once the charge off is done, they can still collect on you, blah, 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 blah. But you know what? You have to step back and look at it and see what makes sense. Now, under the GAAP principles, GAAP accounting principles, which are the federal laws that the bank is bound to follow, once they do a charge off and once they claim it on the insurance, it's a done deal. There's no place left on their books to put any additional income. So where does that money go? And what is it called when you lie on your tax statement? Or when you tell the insurance company that you have a loss and you're still making money from it? So I don't know. I just like to keep things simple. And that's what I see. So to me, it's a whole lot easier to take that little smaller road and hold somebody accountable. Now, what you end up doing is you end up forcing the attorney, that person whose name is signed on the thing, to be responsible for everybody else's crimes. And that person, and that attorney's like, oh, hell no, why should I take the heat for you guys? And why don't they add you guys to the, well, you know what, at the end of the day, if you're using my documents, at the end of the day, it's written right over on the side that you reserve the right to amend. So you can add anybody to it that you need to down the road. But what they do is they add a whole bunch of people to it. And then if you miss responding to one person, then they move to dismiss the whole thing. Now, I'm sure some of you went through that. So you have to be careful how that thing works. Oh, so there's one other thing too, Gene. Yeah, there's one other thing for you, buddy. I got a surprise for you.
I'm listening. I'm definitely listening. My ears are wide open.
So before we started, we were talking about what you went through, and every time we talk about that, and I see the fire in there. So the way I do things, the jurisdictional challenge, that's the only thing we want to be working on anyway, challenging the jurisdiction for a whole bunch of reasons. They can be challenged at any time up to 15 years. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enroll you in my new online course.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you.
And that will allow you to get in there and learn what you need and get back in their face. And that'll also give you firsthand a look at it. I thought about this today while you were sitting there getting fired up.
It doesn't take long for me to get fired up. Really don't. I get it.
So I need you to later on today sometime message me an email address, a new one, or one that, something that you can save to keep all of this stuff in.
Yeah.
Because I use that back and forth when I'm communicating with the students and stuff.
Okay.
And it would be nice not to have it go into all the, and this is what I tell everybody, because it's a little hard to find if it's in with a whole bunch of other stuff. And you send me that email, and then I will manually enroll you in the course so you can check it out. And then you can have a firsthand experience and tell others about it too.
Oh, sure.
I have a few people in the course, but not everybody wants to be, on record or on the social media or on the air admitting that they're struggling with this problem, and it's really embarrassing. And I get it. Believe me, I went through it. So I don't push people. I don't use, some of the people in the Facebook group, well, you need to prove with the case law that you save help, I'm not worried about any of that. Okay. I have not helped anybody win anything. Okay. What I do is help you learn how to stay in your house. That's what I do. Help you learn how to stay in your house, get your lawsuit filed in federal court with a strategy to block the eviction process if you're going through a non-judicial foreclosure.
Right.
The rest of it is going to be up to you, because I'm not an attorney, and I don't look at people's documents and do all that stuff, you know, and people have a hard time with that. People have to understand that we're not going into court to defend what they said you did or didn't do. Okay, so I don't need to know all of that stuff. All that stuff, all we need is 1 or 2 documents attached to your lawsuit, because your lawsuit is going to be going after them for a whole bunch of other stuff over here.
Right, right.
So I need people to realize that. So, oh, one other thing. So anybody, I've been promoting this new document that I packaged, that I put together, and I want to make sure that all the people who stick with us to the end of the show have opportunity to get a good deal, a really good deal. And at the end of the show, I will let you know what that deal is. So if I forget, somebody call in and remind me to let you know what the deal is, if you're interested. But I wanted to throw that out there before I forget.
All right, I'll leave the number up there for them too. So go ahead.
So let's just get started a little bit about this marriage dissolution document. So the goal for doing the research for this marriage dissolution document was to find a way for a family member and best friend to get a divorce without having to pay the courts a bunch of money, without having to fill out all the paperwork and give them your financial information, without having an attorney and being called into court a whole bunch of times, without the judge in your face giving away your money. Okay, I think you guys kind of get that, huh? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put this backwards so that you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, instead of, you know, on and on doing it until the end, and then telling you, okay? Because I don't have time to play around. So basically, what this process is, you will learn how to use the same process they use to make the marriage legal, to make the process unlegal. And there's nothing they can freaking do about it. This process works best in situations where there's no disputes and a judge wouldn't need to rule on anything. Now, someone made a comment on one of my ads that, you know, well, the judge shouldn't have to rule if there is a dispute. Well, you're right, but the problem is, and I don't mean to be, you know, rude, but the problem is that sometimes people act stupid. So, and the judge needs to be involved or it can't get worked out. So, and we're just going to leave that where it is. So the only other reason anyone would need to, there's no reason that anybody would need a license for 2 consenting adults to be married unless they were otherwise incompetent. And if couples go to the state and ask for a state license, where there's no other reason for them to need that license other than being incompetent in law, then it shows right there that they're throwing themselves under the bus. And the state is supposed to tell you these things, but they don't. And it gets even more interesting. So now one must ask, when the bride and groom are incompetent to be married without a state license and the state grants the license, who's responsible for the marriage? And the answer is the guarantor, the state. Yeah, it gets a little boring. Who's responsible for anything that's created in such a marriage? Well, according to the contract law, it would be the state. And what is usually created through the marriage? Typically, the only thing that's created in such a marriage is children. So I ask you, who do the children created in the state marriage license belong to? Well, the state. Now, see, this is what I was talking about. I went a little overboard on the on the research here, because, you know, all of this doesn't really matter with using the same process, but this is interesting. And, you know, if you know, I always tell people, don't just take my word for it. Okay, do your own research. With what I'm showing you here is putting you in the position where you can get the research done without spending the hours and hours and days researching all this like I did to put myself in a position to share this with you. So evidence one, there's evidence that will show that this is true. Number one is the state social services. They stand their authority on the doctrine called parens patria, Patria, which is Latin for parent by country. And when I read this, I was like, it kind of set me back, because when I was going through this situation that caused me to create this document, the kid thing wasn't a problem, but it was interesting. And knowing this gives you a point to attack the jurisdiction of what they're doing if you're in that situation. I don't do family court outside of helping my family members that I know, because we spent 11 years doing foster care. And we have had 28 kids, 1, 2, or 3 at a time in our home throughout that period of time. And I just, it's really hard, okay, just to throw it out there, to know if I'm helping the right person. It's really hard for me, because I don't want to end up helping the kids get out of the pan and into the fire. So I don't really do that. But if I did, I would know now from reading this where I need to start at. And I'm throwing it out there for anybody that's struggling with this situation that might need it. So the modern usage parens patria is understood to mean the state is the parent. So there's more evidence to point this out too. So when the doctors deliver the children from the womb, they're required to create a document known as the live birth, and that's not what they give you. So they give you a birth certificate. So what happened to the live birth, the record of live birth? Well, according to my research, it was sent to the Bureau of Vital Statistics. Like, what in the world is that? Well, it's a subdepartment of the Department of Commerce. Now, I heard a little about Commerce, but what is Department of Commerce? Well, it's where the U.S. keeps track of its possessions. Interesting. Now, this evidence indicates that the state is declaring children as their possessions at birth. And there's more evidence. New statutes require hospitals to assign Social Security numbers to each child before birth, with or without the natural parent's signature or permission. Like, man, they get away with a lot of stuff. Evidence 4. Why are each of the childbirthing performing hospitals in the U.S. registered as port of entries into the United States when virtually none of them have incoming foreigners? I know these are things that we don't know. There's one more, and then we'll move on. The birth records and census reports are used as collateral for U.S. loans and as proof of subverment nature of the people under control of the U.S. government. So first, we must learn what happened. In the past times, no license were required except in cases where it was unlawful otherwise to be married. For example, in the biblical law forbid the interracial races, so the statutes of the nation were based on biblical law, which prohibited marriages between persons of different races. Right. So if a white person wanted to marry a black person or Indian person or whatever, then they, by statute, were required to get a license. So the word statute and law, to me, should not be used in the same sense, because we already talked the last week and the week before about the fact that statutes don't have the necessary elements to be considered a valid law. So I just like to throw that out there anytime I talk about a statute that people refer to as a law. So, but I didn't want to get started on that. Marriage records were kept in the family Bible and in the clerk's county recorder's office. So soon statutes were created to allow anyone desiring a license to obtain one. And then churches were used to assist in getting people to use marriage license as a matter of recording the marriages. And over time, people began to believe that licenses were required by law, even though they were otherwise incompetent. Now they have it set up to where you have to get your marriage license, you have to pay the court fees, you have to pay licensing fees. And it's kind of ironic that the same document that's used by a corporate state to unite someone is the same document used to remove people's kids and stuff. And you know, nobody ever warned you about this because the government employees were just doing their job.
Collecting their money, that's it. Everybody collecting their money.
And now, this is interesting, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to go ahead and complete this whole circle so people can understand. In contract law, no signature. In contract law, if full disclosure is not presented at the time of the signature, then there's no agreement. If there's no signature, if full disclosure is not given with the presentation of the agreement, it's a problem. And there's no signature. And in the case of a marriage license, if you use one, you were likely not informed that the guarantor of the license is a privately owned corporation. You were not informed licensing with them was not necessary for you to be married. And you probably were not informed that if you requested a license from them, you were declaring yourself incompetent and you were signing over possession of your future children to them as collateral. So if the above things are true in your case, then the contracting license is void without signature from the beginning. Now you get out of the marriage without an attorney or courts or having to blame it on the other person. Now you can attack this situation and get out of it because of the misconduct on the state's part. I think that's really cool. And now you get to be in control. Now, this is something interesting here, what I'm going to talk about next. And my brain always figures out ways to do these things and stuff. And that's how I ended up in this situation where I'm able to help people. In law, a notice has greater authority than a state-issued marriage license. So the process that I structure is the same process the state uses when they accept your money and provide you with a marriage license you did not need. We use custom documents to dissolve the marriage, and we use the same process they use to make the marriage legal to dissolve it. And all that process is posting this document on the public record. And some states charge $10, some states charge $20. Now, sometimes they try to give you a little bit of a hard time. And if you bring up the D word, okay, the divorce word, they're going to figure out you're trying to get out of paying them for the divorce. And I've only had this happen once. Like I said, this document, it's only been used a couple of times. It got lost in the dust. And they gave this person a hard time and would not post it on the public record. Now, I upgraded the document and I included in the document what the guidelines are for filing something in the public record. from the statute of one state. I think it's state of Ohio, but they're all pretty much the same. So as long as they see you have it there and that you know that there is a statute that mandates what those guidelines are, you know, it's going to be a lot harder for them to get in your face. So I have what the guidelines are written right in the document so that nobody can get the wool pulled over their face. And if they want to refuse to file your document, you have a notice of claim for $5.5 million, because I like to put that on everything like hot wing sauce, to go after the person that's refusing to post your document in the public record, the state, and whatever attorney they hire if it goes that far. You have that in the package. So I want to make sure that nobody's turned away. So I ain't playing. If I send you to your table with something, then they're gonna have to deal with it, or it's gonna be a problem. So we're gonna make sure that no one can just, you know, you can tell them you want a divorce and stick it in their face or whatever you want to do, because at the end of the day, if they don't file your thing, your legal team, remember, your legal team is going to add them to your lawsuit for that you're going to file against them and the state for violation of administration of for violation of the Administrative Procedures Act of 1946 and violation of your constitutional rights and some other things. Because these people, they do not have authority to make a legal decision on your document. And if your document that you want to have placed on the public record fits the guidelines according to their statutory recording, their recording requirements, then there's no reason for them to not file your stuff. But you know what they're doing is they're trying to look out for all their buddies, because they know they have to get your money. And this is what we're going to prevent with this. And the other good thing about this is it doesn't require the signature from another party. You can do it yourself. You get it file stamped that it's on the public record, and then you send, I would serve the other party a stamped copy of it to show that it's on the public record. Now, you should remember, when you're going to file this, you don't have to tell them crap. So if they're wanting to ask you anything about it, you don't have to tell them crap. And I'll tell you now, the people that put their foot down at the gate usually spend less time in there getting crap thrown in their face. If, you know, as soon as they say something, no, that's not what my legal team said. No, dude, I'm going to need to know, let me get your little notepad out. I'm going to need to know your name or your employee number or something, because that's not what my legal team's telling me, and they're going to want to know who I'm talking to. No, you can nip that stuff in the bud if you're ready for it, because I guarantee you they're going to try and convince you some kind of way not to do this. Now, I don't know what it costs to get a divorce, Gene, but I know it costs a ton of money, and all you want to give them is your $20. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about, and then we're going to open it up and see if anybody has questions, I guess. The other thing I want to talk about is, in doing this marriage dissolution document, I had to do a little research on filing a public notice. And a public notice carries a lot of weight. As a matter of fact, a public notice is done in common law. So what I'm thinking is, when you go to court, they have you in administrative court. And that's why they don't ignore all your rights and ignore everything, because you're in their administrative court unless you make them do otherwise. So I'm thinking, if I was going to file something in the court, I would make sure that it was stamped and on the public record first. That would put it in common law jurisdiction. And I can't wait to see how the courts try to respond to that, because now you're going to back them in a corner. And if they try to do the shenanigans that they always do, then you actually can add that to the lawsuit that you already have in the package and attach that stamped copy showing it's on the public record and it's already in common law jurisdiction, and they're trying to drag you into some other stuff and throw you under the bus. Yeah, I don't think they're going to want to talk about all of that stuff. So I can't wait to see how this works. And I'm throwing it out there because, you know, just off the top of my head, I was thinking about that. It's like, that's something that I think I'm going to try. The next time I have to file something in court or whatever, I'm gonna have it placed on the public record first, file stamped on the public record before I stick it in their court and see what kind of a difference that makes. So what do you think, Gene?
Wow, it's a lot of stuff. The divorce stuff, I still don't understand that really. I mean, a marriage certificate is the same thing as any certificate that's supposed to be, as my friend Jordan Maxwell tells me, is a bond to the stock market. So if you're already bonded when you're live birth, and then they have your driver's license, which is another bond, and then they have your marriage certificate, which is another bond, that's 3 certificates right there. I'm kind of confused to why do you have to do, if you do a divorce, you just can't do a complete separation. Why lawyers got to get involved, why they got to get all up in people's faces, and, you know, it's.
Well, the reason is, and this is my opinion, the reason is the money.
Yeah, I see
and the
that.
control. You know, at the end of the day, these people have to they have to pull their pants down and give them their financial information, and the judge can do whatever they want with it. It's at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about, and you know what? That's why we have to put the more on what I do, because I like showing people how to block the attorneys from taking their freaking money. That's it.
Yeah.
And I've created some interesting documents. I have another document, some we'll talk about someday down the road, that I created for this lady who was trying to get the $1,500 out of her deceased father's bank account. And just to keep the story short, so they were giving her a hard time. The mother died. There was no other kids, and they were just so they told her to call an attorney. So she called the attorney, and there was $1,500 in the account she was trying to get because she went a little overboard on the funeral expenses, and she was going to use this money to pay her rent and pay all of her stuff. So how much do you think the attorney was going to charge her to help her in probate court get her $1,500?
Probably a few thousand.
$1,500.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He's going to charge her $1,500 to help her get her $1,500.
So she would have lost whatever she got. It's crazy.
And that's what they do. So it goes in the probate court, and then the attorneys keep attacking it with their fees until it's gone, and then you go sit down and shut up.
Yeah, because you're out of money. You can't do anything.
Of course, you know, at the time, this was a while back when I wasn't very busy, okay? And I was like, oh, hell no, I'm gonna figure out something. And so finally at 3:15 in the morning, I found a statute that allows a person to get their deceased family members' money from the bank without going through probate and without doing all that stuff, as long as it was under $20,000. And I was like, I was like, yes. And I woke my wife up, you know, she was over there asleep, and I had the headphones on, and I forgot that So I put that paperwork together for this lady, and I sent her in the court, and I emailed it to her, and I told her, okay, this is the letter. You want to give them the letter first so they can see the statute, because when you give them the documents, it makes no sense unless you know the statute. Now, I know these fools don't know this because they would never have been in a position to learn it, because nobody's going to take their ass to the curb like that. So she goes in to bank, and then she comes back out, and she calls me, and she's in tears. And I was like, well, that was what happened. She said, they won't give me the money. I was like, what? They won't give you the money? No. Well, why? Because they said, well, you know. I said, no, go back in there. You know, I can't believe I talked to this lady like that. I said, no, You need to suck it up and go back in there. Let me talk to him. I'm like, what?
That's
What
what
am
a
I
real coach
doing?
would do. Yeah.
So I got on the phone, I yelled at these people, you know, and I mean, I'm pretty passionate when I'm working on something, okay? I don't like to lose. So I'm gonna figure out a way to get it done. And so she walked out of the bank and she was in tears, and I told her, I said, well, then they said at the end that they needed her mother's death certificate to go any further or whatever. So she went to go get that. And I was like, damn. So now I got to do a lawsuit for these fools. Why do I talk all this crap all the time? You know, she called me back an hour later in tears. I'm like, okay, so why are you crying now? She's like, they gave me the money. I'm like, what? So what happened was when she got out of the car, the wind blew her papers all over the parking lot. So when she went in there, she was handing them a stack of papers. They had no idea what the hell. And after they started reading it, they found out that they are bound by that statute to give her stinking stuff without giving her a hard time. And she said they called her back and they apologized to her, and they was, you know, and then she was like, I want to send you something extra. I was like, no, dude, you already are struggling. You already paid me the extra stuff that I had to do just because I'm a hardhead.
Yeah,
I told her I'll be able to use this document to help other people, so I'm not worried about it. I already know that you're struggling, so you don't worry about that. Just leave me a review, which she did.
oh, that's awesome. I love your attitude because, you know, that's what a real coach would do. You get back in there, go do it, take care of the problem.
I apologize to her for that because
you motivated her. You got her to the point where you actually got her to motivate her. That was great.
Yeah, she thanked me for it. She appreciated it. I felt really bad later because I try not to holler at people, you know, but you know, I was like, no. We're right. This needs to go down right, or there's gonna be a problem somewhere because I ain't having this. I spent too much time working on this to have y'all just kick it out the door and go sit down. No, we ain't having that. So that kind of reminds me, we tell people if you have fear about being in my program, it's probably not going to work for you because I don't deal well with the fear and the anxiety and stuff. Because,
well, like you say, a lot of times they'll always say their lawyer or the friend of theirs, a lawyer, and said, I don't think this will work. Well, then, you know, unfortunately, you're not going to make them happy.
Right.
They can't ask lawyers about going after lawyers.
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen, and that's one of the main reasons why nothing ever gets done, because these attorneys are the ones that sign to do this stuff, and they've got people believe that they're the fake stuff. Okay, the fake stuff is that the attorney signed it. Oh no, I'm working for the bank. So you have a contract to verify agency? I don't need one. Yeah, you do. So you have a power of attorney to show that somebody from the bank. So the bank's a corporation. So a corporation can't sign nothing anyway, unless we're going to get back to the fake stuff. So I'm not going to worry about the fake stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sue the person who signed, because I'm not smart enough to deal with that fake stuff and make sure I get the right person. I'm just going to sue the person who signed right here to start this. And by the way, I'm going to be coming after your assets and your bar license. So make sure you understand that. I'm going to be coming after your assets and your bar license, in addition to the 5.5 million that I got written down over there. So that's just a tip for all of you guys that are using the lawsuit packages. You might want to go ahead and do amendment or whatever and add the fact that you're going to go after them for their assets and for their license. Because here's the deal: if they're doing illegal crap to you, they don't need no license. That license need to be set to the curb. It need to be on your mantle above your fireplace.
Now, how do you figure the amount to go after them? Is it calculated amount, or is it just what, you know, you just think I thought off the top, I'll go for 6.42, you know, whatever.
Well, if you want to go by the statutes, Gene, then I had a guy ask me that. So how can you
I'm
do
curious.
$5.5 million when it says 3 times the amount or
I'm
whatever?
curious. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, the statute we already talked about is BS. Statute's bullshit. So, and I tell him, I said, look, who made those rules? So who made those rules? So you can follow their rules if you want to. They're not designed to help you. I said, if you know, I tell them I'm going to leave mine. If it was me, I'd leave mine where it is. But you, if you want to like drop yours down to 50,000, you could do that. I said, you know, from what I watch my wife and family go through, the $5.5 million still ain't touching it.
Oh yeah, I know. That's what I was gonna say.
It's not touching it. The embarrassment, all the neighbors. I mean, I
I
didn't
know.
even
I
want
went
to
through
get.
the same thing. We had neighbors too said the same thing. We went through the whole thing with the
Yep.
ready to change the locks. I have no trespassing signs on the house. Still have them on the house, just on the house, because they're not supposed to violate that no trespassing sign. But they don't care. They
Well, you know why they don't care? Because they know that 80% or more of Americans can't afford an attorney, and not very many people are going to be able to sue them. So that's a problem. If you can't sue them, then why would they worry about you getting up in their face? Because you're not going to cost them any money. And you learn to cost them some money, and you'll get a little bit more respect.
You're right. You're right.
That's,
It always is that way. We got a couple minutes left yet. So do you want to give your information out? You wanted to do that because you still haven't got time yet for your show, but you told me to remind you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And you got more time anyway. So
what information is that?
you just said remind you.
No, I know. I'm just, you know. Yeah, I get myself in trouble. I had a lady call me one day and she says, God, this is Jewel, and I'm calling for my consultation and everything. And I said, okay, Jewel, I'm glad you called. You get 20 minutes, and I'm glad that you called, and your time's up. And thank you. And her husband said, hi, God, this is Bill. Oh, Bill, hi. You're here too. I'm on speakerphone. And I was just giving her a hard time, you know, but I didn't know that Bill was there. Maybe I would have been a little nicer, but they both cracked up laughing. But anyway, so what I'm going to do for all of the listeners that are here today on this radio show that rocks, what I'm going to do is, if you're interested in the marriage dissolution package, because it's 3 documents, I have the marriage dissolution document, I have the lawsuit / notice of claim that you'll use if they give you a hard time, and I also included my United States of America affidavit of state citizenship document to prove that you're a state citizen and not a citizen of the federal government. Now, I'm going to give you guys a break, and I'm going to price the document. Right now, it's on my website at $200. It's half price right now at $200. I'm going to drop it down to $100. If you're interested in it, after the show closes, I'm going to go to my website and I'm going to change it to, that's the easiest way for me to do it. Instead of having to take emails and have to do all this manual stuff, I'm just going to change it, because most people that aren't listening to the show are not looking at the website. And by the time Gene sends this to me later, so I'm going to leave it posted until 9 o'clock tonight. Okay, that way you guys who 9 o'clock Central Time. That way you guys who are driving or at work or whatever will have a chance to get home and download, or you can purchase it on your phone. My website is set up to take credit cards or whatever. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you guys a super deal, $100 if you're interested in marriage dissolution document. And I do ask a couple of things. One thing is that you subscribe to my YouTube channel and help me, because once I'm able to monetize my site, I would be able to help more people at a much less reduced price. And 2, I want you guys to come on the show next week and tell me about it, what you think about it, how they responded to it, whatever. I want people to know, you know, and I discuss openly what I'm doing here and what the process is, So if you're, or have enough, have studied this legal stuff enough where you can put your own stuff together, then go ahead and do what you got to do. And if you have any questions, you can email them to me, and I'll try to respond to them. But that's what we're going to do, and we're going to make that down. I'm going to put it down to $100 as soon as I get done here, and give you guys that support the radio show and listen to my program opportunity to get some real value.
That's a great deal. Great freaking deal, guys. I would jump all over that if I was you. This man doesn't play games. Okay, this is just my opinion. Coach Neighbors doesn't play games. Even though he's a coach, he doesn't play games. You get that? There's a little. He doesn't play games, but he loves playing games with attorneys. He loves making them cry, and he wants you to slap their face. Because what he's telling you is you can virtually do anything you want in court, but you got to know how to play the game. And he knows how to play the game.
You got to be willing to do whatever it takes.
Better than anybody I've ever seen. And that should be huge for people out there that have gone to different places and talked to different people. And this is not a character assassination against other people, by the way. It's just that, do you see any results? And if the answer is no, he's your man. Give him a try. At least try. What do you got to lose?
What I usually tell people, Gene, when they invest in my package or the course or whatever, and we're all done with all the talking and they're ready to go, the last thing that I tell them over the phone is, I'm gonna teach you how to have fun.
Yeah.
And I have not had a lady. I had a lady from, I don't know, she was from Poland or somewhere. She had a really strong accent. And she called me one day. She said, Coach Neighbors, she says, I filed a sanction motion, and they was in court crying today about the sanction motion and all of this stuff. And she says, you're right. I said, I am. I'm thinking, I love it when my wife tells me I'm right. Doesn't happen very often, but I kind of like it. So I said, I am. And she said, yeah, you're right. I'm having some fun. And it really made my day. It really made my day.
Let's talk about some of the testimonials. So you said maybe you're going to try to have some people on here that have done your course and done things.
Well, I only have 5 people in the course, and
okay.
I have one investor, and he's like really busy. I haven't even got a review from him, and he's been in the course for like 3 weeks.
Okay.
Or a little over 3 weeks. I have one person that completed the course, but I'm not sure exactly who it is. So I'm still learning how to work the back half of the website. And I had one person that left some comments because the course is set up where you can leave comments. And I had one person who left a comment that had to do with the property tax situation he was facing, and he actually joined the course to stop the property tax. So I sent him my number and told him to call me because there were some things that some questions I need to ask, but
right.
I understand where he's at. And I told him that the property tax lawsuit package was not included in this program, but since he paid for the course and he's ready to kick some butt, then I want to do what I can do to help him do that. So I'm just so I emailed it to him, and but I haven't heard back from him yet. So I'm waiting to hear back from him. And I explained to him, people are so worried about the sale and blocking the sale. The number one thing people should be worried about more than that is blocking the sale is having a strategy to block the eviction process. And when I bring that, people, oh, well, I'm not in the eviction process yet. Okay, you're not listening to me. That's like the most important thing. You have to have that strategy. So if you are ready. You can't put yourself in position if you don't think about that until you're already about to catch on fire. Because there are things that you have to do to put yourself in position to block that eviction process. And you have to do that at the very beginning of your strategy. And so I try to convince people of that.
No, you're right. In fact, a couple of my friends are saying hi to you. Actually, a good friend of mine, I think he's still in Florida, Bernard Borges. He's a Black entrepreneur, great guy. He actually was on the station. See, this is what I'm talking about. Successful people that come from this radio station have successful careers, people. They have successful careers. They may have only been with us for a month or 2 months or a year, 6 months. Many decide to stay for whatever. But the point is, they're successful people, and you should learn from their success, not deal with not be able to pay for this, not be able to pay for that, and just enjoy life. That's what me and Coach Neighbors are trying to teach you. To hook up with him and hook up with us together is amazing. And you need to understand that. You have an opportunity here to show other people what you're doing, how you're doing it, and through Coach Neighbors, if you're successful in doing it. And if you're successful in doing it, what does success mean for you? Stopping the sale of your home. That's it. That's all we're looking for. Stopping the sale of your home. What do? Oh, they stopped the sale of my home. They're not emailing me. They're not calling me. They're not coming by. They're not sending any people by. So that's a success.
Yep, and I have people in the private Facebook page. I have people in the page that started the lawsuit package with me. That filed the first ones. Jay and Sue Boyer. They are also, their picture is also on the front, also on the checkout page of my online course. They signed up when I first put the lawsuit packages out last October.
Beautiful.
And I have another lady, and she's also in the group. Her name is B, and she's also in the group. And those two were the first two, and both of them are still in their house. And they have good outcomes with, so everybody wants to know, how many have you won? Show me the case. Dude, that's in a conventional situation. That ain't never happening. There's some case law that it did once upon a time. I ain't never seen it happen, and I've been doing this for a minute. So we're not trying to get the judge to give you anything, okay? My goal is to teach you how to defend yourself and make them go sit the hell down, because the shared liability is a little higher than they want to accept. And that's what my goal is, help you get stuff on the record that you need for your lawsuit and your appeal if you need to appeal. Now, I have no faith in their process, but sometimes people can certainly use that notice of appeal to block their jurisdiction, to give you time to get your lawsuit filed in a higher court, that high. Okay.
Beautiful. We're done, brother. So give that link again where they can, sign up for your
you can go to
and subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you. You guys, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. All of the videos on my YouTube channel are videos that I put together based off of helping people all over the United States, and my Facebook page. Those videos help you prepare for what you're going to be facing when you're in this fight, and give you free tips and stuff that you can use while you're in this fight. So now the first part of the title of the video is what I use so YouTube will, so my video will rank and YouTube will show it. The second part of the title is kind of more what the video is about. So if you're looking for something particular, check out the second part of a title. It'll be more accurately get you to the video that you need. And I try to answer all the comments. Sometimes it takes me a day or so, but I try to answer all the comments if they make sense. And then I delete the comments where people leave to these sex websites. I'm not sure why they put that crap on.
Everybody gets that. I got that on when we had the chat on the website. I know.
Yeah, and once the YouTube channel, I get to the point where my channel is monetized, I'll be able to reduce the prices of my lawsuit packages. So there won't be any families. And my goal, I would like not to turn anybody away that shows up ready to fight. And
Beautiful.
That'll help. And I think when I qualify for YouTube partnership program and I have that money coming in, and I'll be able to help, to hire people to help. One of the things that I want to do is I like to have a center set up to help elderly people, because older people struggle with this situation.
Yes.
Because now they have to depend on their family members to take charge and do all of this stuff, and it's a lot of stress. And a lot of them don't even have an email address. So if you don't have an email address, there's no way I could even, So that's one of the things that I want to do to down the road a little ways. But we got to get the first steps done. and that's getting qualified and getting in the partnership program. And it's working out pretty well right now. I appreciate everybody's views and comments that I left on my YouTube channel since we started doing these videos on the attorney fraud. Oh my, people are excited.
Good. That's what we want. Keep it going. Keep it burning. That's beautiful.
And I'm like, I am the best one to tell you about attorney fraud. And I've had 14 attorneys throughout my process. I had to fire all of them except the ones that quit because I wouldn't do what they tell me to do, and get on my knees and stuff. So I have a hard time kissing butt. I'm just going to throw it out there.
I love you, brother. You're awesome. You're a great guy. You're showing people the way. If they don't decide to do it, it's up to them. But you're giving them the way.
Well, I like to keep it simple,
Right.
And I tell people are giving me a hard time and all this stuff. And okay, so at the end of the day, what would be a better plan? Okay, would it be a better plan to answer to their crap that's all fraud and lies? And when you get done answering, you still got crap, fraud, and lies? Or would it be better to file your own lawsuit in a higher court to address those fraud and lies?
Yeah. And I just want to say too, property taxes are going up. All the taxes in everybody's states are going to go up very soon because of COVID. So be ready for that. If you don't have extra money coming in or anything like that, you better figure out a way to keep your home, because if you don't, they will take it from you, and they will. So that's all I'm going to say.
And you know what, Gene? I think next week the property tax situation
Really hit it again.
Been one that a lot is like the most. I get the most views and comments from the things that dealing with property tax. So I think, and I don't usually go out on a limb here because I like to wait because I have these great ideas come to me at the last minute. But I think next Wednesday, let's talk about this. Let's go over this property tax thing again. And I'm going to go over it a little more thorough. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to offer a deal on the property tax package too.
Okay, good.
That's what I think I'm going to do, because I want to see people using it so that I can see how they try and respond, so that I can take care of the rest of the business and get it all wrapped up, so that you're going in and they're like, God, no. So I have one guy in the group that filed it, and he messaged me a couple of days ago to tell me that they showed up at his house. The city commissioner and the city attorney and somebody else all showed up at his house. And he said they showed up to convince him that he must pay property.
You know what? This makes up to you. You're right about that. But you don't realize the power that you have with a radio station like mine. Remember, I own it. I control it. Nobody else runs it. Nobody else controls it. That's when the person should get on here and talk about what happened and tell other people what he did. And they should do the same thing. And I don't care. It's not about being popular. It's about being right and being forthcoming. And they're not. They lie. When I call my property tax office about municipality, they say, well, it's the school. And if I call the school superintendent, well, it's the property tax that's coming from the municipality. You're all part of it. You gotta take ownership in that. But if you're tired of it and you don't want to hear it anymore, you don't want to deal with it anymore, then you got to look at his course and maybe apply and do the course.
Yeah, I have eliminated property tax lawsuit package, and we'll talk about that next.
Beautiful.
Next
all right, great segue. All right.
And I think that'll get some interest in some people in here, and I'm also going to give you a great deal on that opportunity for listeners to jump in and get something done, because that's what it's about. It ain't about sitting the hell around. We got to get some shit done up in here.
You're right. You're right, bro. All right. I'll talk to you later. What a great show again. You did a wonderful job.
Thanks, buddy.
And I'll send it to you later. Have a good day.
Thank you for having me, and I can't wait.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. When they say that I'm being paid, no. This man, I'm doing this with this man because this man has an agenda, and I'm supporting his agenda. Do you understand that? I'm supporting his slap the attorneys in the face. All right.
I love to hear you say that.
Yeah, because now when they listen, they're going to hear, well, guess what? He's not. So, okay, great. Thank you.
You're
Have a
welcome,
good day.
buddy. You
All right,
guys have
bye-bye.
a great rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.